Hey everybody, you're listening to episode 9 of 2 Queens, 1 Screen. Just a heads up, I messed up the audio a little bit on my end, so I might be a little bit quiet and you might have to turn it up a little bit. Otherwise, I'm pretty proud of this episode. Enjoy!
Listener discretion advised. Adult language and mature content.
Welcome. This is 2 Queens, 1 Screen podcast. I'm Keeley.
And I'm Jen.
Thank you for coming back or for listening for the first time. Sorry if you are listening for the first time. We love reality TV and we love true crime, but we're going to talk about reality TV today. So this week, we wanted to talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Jen, let's talk about it. So I wanted to ask you a question. There is a scene this week where Bronwyn, she talks to Lisa after the whole blow-up scene where everybody is pretty upset at Lisa and Lisa leaves the table. Mm-hmm. And so we find out Bronwyn goes to Lisa's room and tells her about a conversation that Bronwyn has about Lisa. Bronwyn has a conversation with Heather, Whitney, and Angie K about Lisa. And then they go and they have dinner and Lisa confronts everybody about this conversation. And everybody gets really upset about it. And Lisa confronts them and says, "What the hell is this conversation?" At dinner, Heather whispers to Whitney and says, "Two-faced," like this. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you caught that. I caught that.
I missed that one.
So she asks everybody about this conversation. And Bronwyn says, "Look, I went to Lisa about my part in the conversation, about my relationship with Lisa. I went to her and I said, we had a conversation. This is what I said about you. This is how the conversation went. This is the part I played in the conversation. I didn't tattle on Angie K. I didn't tattle on Heather. I didn't tattle on Whitney." And it went completely sideways. It went completely messy. Mm-hmm. And Heather and Whitney and Angie K completely lost their mind that Bronwyn told Lisa about this super secret squirrel conversation.
Right.
So I want to know what you think about that.
I'm so curious to see if we agree on this. I love Bronwyn. Prefacing with Salt Lake is my favorite of the Housewives franchises. I didn't think it could be this good. It is so wacky. It is so incredibly relatable also in a weird way. And then the characters are just so over the top and I love it. I just love Salt Lake. And Bronwyn is new to the game. She's new this season. MVP. She comes in hot. She has strong feelings and strong opinions and is very polarizing. And I am team Bronwyn. And I think that it is shady as fuck that she was fighting with Lisa. She got attacked by the dog and Lisa didn't put her in the room next to hers. And so she was mad at Lisa already. She felt so disconnected and she put up a big fit about that. So they have this weird miscommunication and they're already on thin ice. And then she's like, I want to be on good terms with Lisa. Lisa's my friend. Lisa's the one who's done this entire vacation also. So why is anyone being an asshole to Lisa when she did all this? Whether it's a Vita promo or not. But I think that it is slippery as a snake that she went, talked shit about Lisa, and then managed to origami fold this into, I'm really sorry that I did this. Here's my part. Let's be closer friends because of it. And Lisa's like, yes. Eat that shit up. And then when they're like, Bronwyn, what the fuck? She's like, I'm just friends with Lisa. I'm just trying to fix my friendship with Lisa. You guys figure out whatever you're doing. This is the one that I care about. Have I professed that I feel like I'm a close friend with you? No. So I think it's shitty. I also bow down to it. I thought it was amazing, but so shitty to throw everybody else under the bus and somehow turn herself into the hero for talking shit about Lisa Barlow. That's what I think. Okay, so what do you think about her?
First of all, Salt Lake City Housewives is my favorite as well. I absolutely didn't think I would like it, like you said, when it first started.
No.
And I'm in love with it. I think it's the best series. I do watch this one and Beverly Hills. I will tell you, I don't like Bronwyn.
No.
No, I don't like her at all.
Okay.
I have tried. I will, like I said, give her the grace that she deserves watching her on the show as a friend of Lisa. You know, I don't hate her, you know, as much as I guess Heather does, or Heather tries to portray her or make her out to be this evil villain. I'm glad Heather's giving her a little bit of grace, and Heather did stand up for her with the whole emotional cheating thing with Todd and all of that. I was grateful for how Heather stood up for her with that. But no, I don't like Bronwyn, which is funny because before we started recording, I was telling you I talk with my coworkers about Bronwyn, and everybody I work with loves Bronwyn. I'm the one that hates her. I don't like her.
What is it? What is it you think that turns you off about Bronwyn?
I just think she's fake. I think she's fake as fuck, even though she is really direct with people. She tells people how it is. I don't think she's ever not told someone what she thinks. I just don't think she's on the straight and narrow. I just don't know what it is about her. There's something there. Do
you remember at Meredith's bar mitzvah when people are telling her all of these things? I think it's primarily Brittany and Angie. And she's just sitting there and she's like, tell me it all. Sure, go for it. In the interview, she's like, I'm not her friend. I don't care. And then she'll immediately tell everybody what someone else just said. And everyone's like, Jesus Christ. And she's just like, no one's learning their lesson.
Yes.
That bar mitzvah, she came in hot and ready to like call everybody out. No one should ever tell her anything, and yet they just keep doing it.
Yes. Stuff like that. Yes. That's a good prime example of why I don't like her. Although I do believe how she was trying to explain her conversation with Lisa. I do believe that. I do believe that she went to Lisa to tell her about the conversation and the role she played in the conversation to save her relationship with Lisa. Because like you said, she's like, yeah, I'm Lisa's friend and this is what I'm doing. And she was trying to explain it. And I think she did a good job of explaining it. But the girls, Whitney and Heather and Angie, feel so fucking guilty about their role that they played and what they said about Lisa. That's why they're so upset that Bronwyn went and told Lisa about the conversation. That's why Heather is whispering the word two-faced. That's why Whitney is screaming at her and saying, why are you telling about the conversation? Because they're guilty. That's what guilty people do.
Yeah.
So,
100%. Yeah. I was a little surprised by Heather in her reaction to it, because I felt like Heather knew how she felt about Bronwyn, and Bronwyn was just like, I'm going to continue doing exactly what I've been doing from the very start. I do love Bronwyn, but Bronwyn's always going to be Team Lisa for some reason.
Why are people continually surprised by what Bronwyn is doing? Again, I don't like her, but why is everyone continually surprised that she's doing these shady things? That she's turning around literally to your face and telling someone what you just said did. I don't understand that. I think it's hilarious.
So
I think it's funny. I just wanted to know what you thought about that, because I've had intense discussions with coworkers about that. The season finale hasn't aired as of this recording, so we haven't seen it yet, but We're very excited for it.
I'm excited and also depressed. Like, I'm sad that it's going to be over already.
We've got to stop or we're going to have a whole hour show talking about Housewives.
That.
Yeah.
We only have so much time. And
I know.
Luckily, now we're just getting back into 90 Day Fiancé.
Yep.
Last resort with our favorite 6 couples. And then, of course, the Between the Sheets afterwards. So, luckily, it's nice and light fare overall.
Yes. So this one is Last Resort Season 2, Episode 7. You're not first, you're last. Thank you, Ricky Bobby. That is hilarious. Anyway, so they start this episode at Lakeside Therapy, obviously, with Crazy Natalie laughing and Julia screaming and yelling at her. But the therapists, for whatever reason, let Natalie speak, right? I'm sorry, everybody, but I just start to lose respect for these therapists. And I don't understand why they let her speak, because Sophie interrupts Natalie while Natalie is trying to say why she's laughing at her. And Natalie says, "Can I say something?" And the therapists say, "Oh, sure, go ahead, say something, go ahead." And I'm just like, what are we doing? I don't understand.
I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're smart enough to know that if you give her pushback, she'll just have a meltdown and double down. Maybe that's what it is. I think that's too generous. I think they are so surface and not really trying to help anybody. Remember how they helped Clonnie? Is that her name?
Yeah. And Asuelo.
Figure out that they needed to get a divorce. Look at how happy everybody is now. I'm assuming. I don't actually know. But there was real work done last season, and this season, there is not the same kind of real work happening, and they're just going to the bar a lot. While I appreciate not having to look at Big Ed in a hot tub this season, I would appreciate more one-on-one therapy.
It was a struggle. Really. And then Josh, he seems to be uncomfortable. And so they ask him. And then he stands on his soapbox and says, it's us against the world. And I support Natalie. And then they hold hands and they look like a dipshit, right? The two of them look like dipshits in front of everybody. And it's gross. I lost respect for the therapist watching that interaction. I just didn't like it at all.
No, I honestly thought that he might turn on Natalie again because she was making such a ridiculous show. And for some reason, he backed her up. They were in this moment. He's going to back her up. The therapists were like, "That's really amazing that you're doing that." And I was very surprised. And I was surprised that he did it because she was being embarrassing and he's the first to throw her under the bus.
Yep.
This one going nuts again. I don't care for Josh. I don't care for Natalie. And I think he's worse because he's using her as he needs for whatever he's trying to get out of whatever moment.
Absolutely.
It's gross.
It was gross.
But I don't think that we really had any real conclusion to what Sophie was trying to talk about between her and Rob. I feel like that just got cut off.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have that back and forth, and then you just see Julia just done with it. She's just overwhelmed. She's starting to just really start to get just so worked up and so emotional, which you don't really see from her very often.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about Julia and Brandon first? It made some things make a lot more sense between them. And I was actually, for once, proud of Brandon. I've been shitting on Brandon a lot this season, but I thought that he handled this all very well. One, they won, so they felt connected in that. And then two, he just handled Julia having all of these big emotions. He was very supportive of her. He starts off, and at first I was irritated with him. The therapists are saying to him, "How did you feel about this exercise, and what did you notice about it?" And he was like, "We were such a good team." And she's like, "Yeah, I didn't think he was going to do very well. And then look at this guy." And he's like, "Yeah." And then once I started he's like, "We started off strong, but then when I started to lose momentum, and then she was just doing everything she could to cheer me on and to help me as much as she could. And we were this great team. And look, we came back and did it." And then he goes, "I really think that this is a great example of how we could be a fantastic team when we're parents." And I just rolled my eyes then. I guess this is the point of why we're here, to sort out these big issues. you see Julia get worked up again, and she says, I've been saying I don't want kids, and I'm saying it because it's not just that I can't have kids, which is a whole different spin on what we've been hearing so far. And you see her really break down with the admission of that and being honest about that. So while I think she does have valid points, I think she's been laying all of that pressure of I don't want to have kids because it's too much responsibility. He's not going to be doing enough. His parents are overwhelming. All of that. And then now you see, it's really that she went to the doctor in Russia and they said there's really not anything that's going to happen. And he's pushing her to get a second opinion. She doesn't want to because she doesn't want to hear no again because it's so heartbreaking to hear that's not going to happen. My heart broke when I heard that.
Yep.
And everyone kind of rallied around her in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
But he's saying, I think it's valid. I think you should get a second opinion. I think doctors here in America are different. And she's giving all her reasons. They're expensive here in America. I already know that this is this. And she then says that she talked to her mom and finally told her mother, who she's close to her parents. And she didn't even tell her parents until just recently about this. She finally says, I told my mom, and my mom also thinks that I should get a second opinion. And this is why we're here. And so, yeah, I will go. That's a huge breakthrough for them. Her biggest worry was like, if we get that second opinion and they say no, you're going to leave me because you want to have kids. And that'll confirm I definitely won't be able to have kids. Oh, that just broke my heart. And Brandon did a really good thing. And he was like, absolutely not. And he's like, this is just like kayaking. Maybe we'll hit a rock and we'll have to figure out how to get around it together. We will get there together. We will figure it out. I thought he was so supportive and so kind in defending his position in it. I was really proud of him.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, any man, any partner could go, this means the world to me. I don't want to talk about adoption. I don't want to talk about surrogacy. I don't want to talk about anything because I want my child. I want you to carry my child, right? I mean, people can go off the rails and put it on the table and say, if this is not on the table, I'm done. It's over. And he didn't do any of that. He said, there's a lot of other options. I want you. We will talk about it. And he was so sweet to her and so loving. And she was completely having a panic attack and really kept saying, what if, what if, what if? And the therapist finally said, we're not talking about what if, your husband is emotionally there for you, physically there for you, and we are just going to stop and we're just going to stay in this moment and you're going to take a deep breath and it's going to be okay. And it was very wonderful to watch. And every single one of those people were having her support. And even in between the sheets, and I wanted to talk about this, Ari was watching that clip and I was so disappointed with her when she said, I don't think Julia wants to be a mom because someone who wants to be a mom talks about it all the time, tries to make it happen, does all these things to want to be a mom. And I just don't think she puts it out there that she wants to be a mom. And I absolutely disagree with that. Julia is fear. She's steeped in fear right now. Her whole life is fear-based. She doesn't want to go to a doctor. She's paid thousands of dollars to have all these tests. And this person looks at her and says, I'm so sorry, but there is no way that you're going to have a child. And she does not want to hear that. That is why she doesn't want to talk about it. Not that she doesn't want to be a mom. And I think that's really not fair for Ari to say that and make that judgment. And I was really disappointed when she said that. And I completely disagree. Because Ari doesn't know what that feels like. Ari has no idea what that feels like to walk around and have infertility hanging over your head and not know what that possibility is like. Ari slept with a guy and immediately got pregnant, right? That was her life. And she doesn't know what this is like. I think Julia is just terrified and doesn't want to go to the doctor and have someone say, I'm so sorry, but you can't have kids. Again, even if someone were to say that to her, miracles happen all the time. You never know. There are things out there now that she could have a baby, and you never know. But Brandon, he was so wonderful to her. It was so wonderful to watch. I just couldn't have loved them more watching that. And I thought about all of those things where she said, I don't want to have sex with you. I don't want to have sex with you. That was almost kind of funny to me that she is kind of withholding sex from him, because I don't quite understand that, where she could at any second probably get pregnant. And I don't really know why she's almost punishing him for that.
Well, I think
it's like she's punishing herself a little bit.
Punishing everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's this not knowing where to place that fear. I think you're 100% right as far as she's just afraid. And it's like, well, if I can't do this, you're going to leave me. So there's like this little bit of a door open that maybe they're wrong, but I don't really want to, I don't want to go through there yet. I'm not ready to find out that yes or no yet. And it seems like now she is ready. I don't know what made her decide that she is ready all of a sudden, because they have had a shit time so far.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Brandon's behavior up until kayaking has not been great. I don't know what has won her over, other than maybe just seeing the other couples where you're like, who actually has a chance of getting this figured out?
Yeah.
Hardly anybody. Maybe I do need to figure out what I need to do to actually move forward. And maybe that's what that is. And I have to go back and say, I was so fucking pissed at Ari. I could not believe that came out of her mouth. For her to come off as so high and mighty and think she has the best insights, and I just wanted to punch her in the face for saying that Julia clearly doesn't really want to be a mom. Yeah. You know what? Julia her experience is so different, and Ari, I hope she falls in a well. I'm done with Ari. And I know that her being that nasty probably just comes from her and Julia having the weird little spat over the I hate you, bitch text messages that spun out of control, which I was kind of on Ari's side about that, but now I feel like she crossed a line. Yeah. And I'm like, nope, sweet baby Julia all the way. Forever.
It seemed like when Julia and Brandon were talking at the breakfast table the next day that there was a giant weight lifted off of her shoulders. Yeah. She seemed more free, and that's so great to see that she was almost free to say and do a lot more, that she's not almost walking under this cloud where I can't have sex, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'm living under all of these restrictions because possibly I can't have a baby, where we don't know if it's 100% for sure. And now she's in this compromise where, okay, I'll go to a doctor and maybe I could have a baby. She has accepted that, and this weight you just see it has lifted from her, and it's so nice to see that from her. I just love it.
Yeah. And she's engaged with Brandon, too. Before, there was this wall-up, and it would be, they had fun, but they seemed much more affectionate with each other and much more connected to each other. And now I actually have hope for them, which I really didn't until this.
Yeah.
I was really shitting on the kayaking, and apparently it saved their marriage, possibly. So I take it all back.
Yeah, it was nice. I really liked it.
It was good. It was good. There weren't really that many other high notes of the therapy session after Natalie's freak out. And after that, they're on their way back from the off-site therapy, which apparently was hours away. Yeah. Everyone's in a van together. If we know anything from Salt Lake, never put all these people in a Sprinter van.
Right.
It's hell on wheels.
Yeah.
So
bad juju in a Sprinter van. Let's talk about Ari and Bini next. Ugh. I know.
Ari is on my list. But yeah, let's talk about Ari and Bini. I think Ari just was a shit the whole time. And she was a shit before she was a shit to Julia.
Yeah, so she ends up giving him the password, physically writing it on a piece of paper at the Lakeside therapy, handing it to him, and everybody claps. And he says, thank you. I was a little disappointed that he didn't maybe hug her, give her a kiss on the cheek, show a little bit of affection to her. Ladies and gentlemen, it's because he doesn't like her. That's why.
I felt like she did it as a whole presentation. She could have given him those passwords at any time. She could have given it to him on the drive.
Yep.
She said that they had a bad time in the kayaking thing because he was yelling at her. Then she's like, Bini, here it is in therapy in front of everyone. Right after the exercise where you were a dick to me. Here. She wanted to make him look bad again. I'm not saying that Bini is a prince, but I think that she did that because she knew that he was going to be surprised, not react super great. They're already at odds. I felt like that was all a show for everyone. That she looks like, look at this gesture I'm making and look at what he's giving me back. And then the sprinter ride, they end up deciding that they're going to go to get some food on the way back. In the sprinter ride to the restaurant, she's laying across his lap and he's got his arm on her and he's looking around and she's like, I want you to show affection. I want you to pay attention to me, okay? Don't get all excited. This isn't a party night. This is you and me connecting. And he's like, okay. And then he's also doing the soldier boy dance to the other guys in the other van and elbowing her in the face.
Yeah. Well, the other couples are trying to, I guess, engage with them and look how cute you are. And that's so nice that, this is the first time we've seen any sort of the two of you touching each other or having any sort of affection, which I think the other couples are trying to get them to engage with each other because I think the other couples are knowing this is not going anywhere. This marriage is kind of dead in the water. It's a dud, but the other couples are mentioning that she's laying across his lap and anyway, he's holding on to her, which is fine and whatever. He does give her a little kiss on the forehead before they get out, which was very sweet, which again, I think he maybe should have done that at the Lakeside therapy, but you're probably right. She probably did it for a show. Anyway, yeah, they go inside the bar with everybody. People order drinks, they order dinner. And so she says, can we go talk privately? You said we could have this difficult conversation once I gave you the passwords. Mm-hmm. She wants him to admit these infidelities, one, too many, we don't know, whatever it was. Once she gave him the passwords, he said he would. Even the therapist said, okay, she gave you the passwords. You said you'd have these hard conversations. He said, yeah. They go outside. And she says, okay, I gave you the password. They hug. They're holding hands. And she says, I kind of gave up my life for you and you betrayed me. And she starts to cry and he says, I didn't betray you. And she said, well, yes, you did. Then the off-camera interviews, she explains that she brings up the beginning of their relationship infidelity because she says in her mind, he will be more willing to admit to the infidelity in the past because it was in the past instead of this recent one. So that's why I brought up the one from the beginning. I think that's perfectly valid. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I have had 2 marriages. My first husband cheated on me for women that I knew about. So I understand what she's going through. To try and have some sort of closure, to try and get this individual to say, yes, I cheated on you. That's all she wants him to say. She doesn't want him to say the who, what, where, when, and why, and how they had sex. She just wants him to say, yes, I cheated on you. So she brings up this incident whenever it was, and he goes off the rails on her. I am confused about this story because she says you had this girl brought to my home while I was pregnant. I was in the United States. I have this video of her in my bed.
Yeah.
And he gets very defensive. So, yes. And he says, I'm not going to talk to you if you interrupt me. Red flag, people. Red flag. Right? If this person is saying, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you if you interrupt me. These people are not going to tell you regardless. And they're not going to tell you the truth. First of all, he's not going to admit to it. We know that. So then he's trying to explain to her, which we didn't know, or I didn't know, that he was in this relationship with this person. Then he starts seeing Ari. Something happens and Ari gets pregnant. Mm-hmm. So then he says, oh shit, you get pregnant. Then I go back to this girl and tell this girl that you're pregnant. She gets upset and I'm trying to calm her down, or she's upset that you're pregnant. And that's what the story is. So Ari says, your story is changing. I don't understand what's happening. He gets defensive and says, no, I'm trying to tell you what's going on. No, that's not it. So then they fight. They talk over each other. Mm-hmm. And it goes sideways. He ultimately says, I'm not going to finish this conversation, flips her the bird and says, fuck you, and walks off, which is super disappointing. He gets mad.
It was explosive.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, I want you to admit it. He's like, I'm not going to admit it, but I'll explain it. And then as he's explaining it, she's like, you're not admitting it. And he's like, you're not listening. I don't think they probably talked for more than 5 minutes. It happened fast. And he did. He was like 2 middle fingers right in her face. Fuck you, we're done. He's got this mentality, and you brought this up before, and I don't want to say it's a gendered thing, but in this show, it's been the dudes who, when they fuck up, they're like, why do you bring up the past? I'm trying to move forward. And the women are like, I need you to acknowledge it to move forward. Mm-hmm. And they're just not willing to. Then they blame it on their partner for not moving forward. And I can see the frustration for Bini because I also find Ari irritating. I think just acknowledge it. If she will not let it go and it happened, just tell the truth. What's the worst that's going to happen? Mm-hmm. You break up. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be with her anyway. Mm-hmm. I think he's afraid of losing contact with his son, which I don't think that Ari is above. If she feels too betrayed, she's like, well, if you can't be a good husband, you're probably not a good dad either, and I'm not going to let you be involved. I can see her doing that shit. But also, don't do that shit and you don't have that problem. And I think she's also pissed that she realized she started out as the side chick, you know? And that gets called out a couple times.
And that's what I'm confused about. Did she? I don't know. I mean, if she did, that's fine. But why is it her fault? Why is it her fault that she's a side chick? This is what bothers me. I am upset that she is labeled something negative. He had sex with her. He's the one that's stepping out of the relationship with whatever this person is. He's doing that. She's not doing anything wrong, people. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. Does she know that he was already in another relationship? Or did she just meet a guy in Africa and have this strong connection and then look what happened? I'm just still mad at how she treated Julia, so I can't get over it.
And the other thing that bothers me is that these side interviews, Bini says, look, I screwed up, but she wants to bring up the past. Listen, motherfucker, she just wants you to say that. Why can't he just say that? All he had to do was look at her and go, I screwed up 5 years ago. I tried to tell her. And I screwed up in our marriage. And what now? What can I do for you now? That's it. It's a sentence and we need to move on. But he doesn't. He spins it. He goes and talks to the boys at the bar, restaurant. They spin it. They get all messy. The boys freak out. Oh, she has to bring up the past. We can't move on. Josh is in there getting messy and saying, let's just move on. Why can't we just move on, Mr. I have to move on, just like he did with Natalie, right? Mm-hmm. He's poking the bear saying, of course Ari can't move on. Of course she's bringing up the past. It just infuriates me. Why is the woman always wrong? Why? Why is the man not the wrong person? Why? They're never in the wrong.
No, and in this group of guys, they have joined together in this, like, club. Mm-hmm. They are not, I said this last time, this is not the peer review group that you want to bring your troubles to. Nope. None of them are going to give you solid responses. I think you're right. I think I'm just irritated at Ari. She is so desperate to get the validation and the confirmation, and she needs people to see what a dick he's being, that she's not moving through this in a logical way. She can't. She does not have access to that because she's so hurt, but it's frustrating to watch. Like, if I was in it, would I be doing the same thing? Probably. But watching it is so incredibly frustrating, and watching her lash out, and also watching him when they're in the van before they even get to the restaurant, bar, saloon, where she's sitting there going, I need you to do this. Can you do this for me? Are you going to do this for me? Like how I would be in the van with my kids. We're going to go in and we're not going to touch all the toys. We've got to get in and get out. Can you guys listen? We're going to hold hands. We're going to stay together. I'm serious. We don't have time. She tries to manage and wrangle him, and she needs that control because I think she has none in reality. She's like clawing at whatever she can.
Yeah, but they're in therapy to do that, and he's doing zero. That's why that's why she keeps saying all of those things, because he's doing zero. She has to remind him all of that shit. That's what I see, because he's not doing anything.
I need James, and I love James. He is my favorite of the therapists. But James needs to get involved. James needs to go have a sit down with them and figure out how to move forward, because they cannot. They are going to do the same thing over and over and over again until someone finally breaks and goes, I'm out.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they're not out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so irritating to watch. Ugh. And he even says, basically, I'm here for my son. He's the best kid in the world, and I'm here for my son. And I think that he knows that he's fucked up his chances of being an involved parent if he can't figure this out. But he's also not willing to just admit what he's done and move on. It's frustrating.
Right.
Both of them suck, and I wish they would just be honest and move forward. Two immovable objects.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Gino and Jasmine next?
Oh, Gino and Jasmine. Gino and Jasmine are the roller coaster ride that I never want to get off of.
Yeah. That was a little rough.
I mean, they had a little bit of a bad night at the restaurant after having a great day kayaking, just because Jasmine's still blaming Florian for her being pissed the night before. Florian and Gino just have a very sweet connection. Florian just wants to get Gino wasted, and Gino just wants to touch Florian as much as possible.
They have a very cute bromance.
The bromance is strong, and Jasmine's trying to keep them apart. She doesn't like it. I think she also just doesn't want to see Gino be so affectionate with anyone that isn't her. That's what set her off with Natalie, and that's what's setting her off with Florian.
Of course.
But I think what we have to talk about is the next day. Gino got way hammered at the saloon, which I need to talk about at the saloon, and Rob calls it out. It was ridiculous. They're in this ma and pop bar that also happens to serve food, roadside, hole in the wall, which often can be a fantastic place. I think they all had a great time. But these people go in, and Gino's like, I'd like an old-fashioned. And she's like, we don't have the ingredients for an old-fashioned. And then Brandon goes, old-fashioned? What about a mojito? Jesus Christ. And Rob is like, are you serious? You guys, no, this is not how you order here, you city slickers. Read the room. Literally, there's a bear with dollar bills shoved in its mouth, and it's a real bear, and antlers and neon signs. This is not where you're gonna get your fancy cocktail. But yeah, Gino trying to get an old-fashioned at that bar was funny to me. And I think he had several drinks. The next morning, he's in their bedroom, and he is trying to lay down and sleep off what looks like a pretty painful hangover. He's just laying there. Jasmine comes in, and she looks hot as shit. She's just in this like teeny tiny bikini. I mean, upside down butt or no, it's high and tight. Good for her. She lays down next to him and rubs his back a little bit, and she's trying to get his attention and gives him a little tickle, and he's like giggling. He's like, no, don't do that. And he like kind of runs off, and then she's cuddling him and spooning him, and she's like, give me a kiss. I just want a kiss. And he's like, no, get away from me. And it just turns, and it was so uncomfortable and made me feel so sad. And I loved that they had in between the sheets when they are going over the scene again, because it was intense. They had the sex therapist watch it, and she had some really interesting insight. He just pushes her away and says, I'm not into it. I don't want it. I don't want you to do that right now. And she's like, I'm not trying to make out. I just want a kiss. He's like, no. And you just see her feel like nothing. What did you see when you were watching that?
That was so hard to watch. All I saw was Gino being completely petulant and completely selfish. He sat at the end of the bed, crossed his arms, and kept saying, I'm not doing this. I'm not having sex with you. I'm going on my time. This is my time. I want a foundation. I want this. I want this. I want this. And she's like, I don't understand what's happening. And she shows the rock that says, Jasmine pushed me away. And she's like, you're pushing me away. He is not about her at all. He is not taking into consideration anything she wants, anything she feels, what's going on with her at all. When she walks in the room and says, I'm going to the pool, look at my bikini, he says, oh, that looks nice. That was totally fake, I thought.
It just felt very forced and ingenuine. Yep. It's these bids. Jasmine seemed very genuine. She didn't seem like she was trying to, well, she was like, look how hot I am. Yep. But then she was like very not sexually feeling him up. She was just touching him and rubbing his back and giving him a tickle, like just trying to engage with him at all. Yeah. And he's, I don't want to kiss you. I'm not doing that. And she's like, what about what I need? You just see her walk into the other room and sit and cry. And it was so awful to see. However, then you see her go, I think the only thing that's going to save our marriage is me getting laid somewhere else. I don't think that's what it is, but that's what she's decided.
Yeah. And in between the sheets, I will say it was so nice to watch Josh and Brandon watch that clip and Josh say, okay, I have made more of a connection with Gino. I've talked to Gino quite a bit about him and Jasmine and their relationship. But watching that, I feel bad for Jasmine. Gino is the problem. I don't understand what that was that I just watched. He needs to stop doing that. He needs to turn around, talk to his wife, and engage with her in some way. All she's doing is trying to sit with him. She asked him for a kiss. She didn't ask for sex. She wasn't asking for anything. And I really appreciate that he said that. He didn't have to say that. He could do some stupid bro talk, right? And say something tough and dumb. But he was on Jasmine's side for the first time. Even Brandon said, I wish that was my problem. You know, that was terrible. I can't believe that that's what is happening in their house. What is Gino doing? What is going on? I'm so glad that I am not the only person that is confused as to what is happening. She's crying. She says, you wonder why I left the house for 3 days? Why did she leave for 3 days? What is going on? You know, I think something happened. For him to have such a big emotion and him to say, right, you've already lost me. That's a huge emotion. And her to say, don't you wonder why I left the house for 3 days? And then her to say, I need to have an open marriage. I need to have someone to have sex with me. Now I'm starting to think maybe she cheated on him.
Sure. Yeah. I think she cheated on him. She says that she never did, but I don't, like Dean or Dane or whatever his name is. I think they connected when they do an interview with him in between the sheets and they watch that.
Yeah.
I don't remember who he was sitting with, but they go off on, was it Rob?
It was Rob.
Fucking Rob. I want to be on your team. And you say shit like this in the interviews. Yep. And he's like, she is not grateful for all that you have done for her. Yes. And here's the deal. When she comes to the United States to marry you, she's giving up her country, her family, her kids at this point, which is gross, her career, her independence. And they're like, well, look at how he's given her this house and he's paying for her financially. He's not supporting her going out and doing anything on her own. So I know that it's expensive to have a car, but she can't get a job. She can't get a license. He wants her to just fit into this little box, and she's a whole ass human being. Yeah. And it sounds like she has the gym, his family, and his house. Yeah. And that's it. That's gross and that sucks. And who wants that for their significant other? Yeah. I'm sorry. I wish Matt got out of the house more. I need my time to go do the things that I like to do on my own. Matt and I share a lot of things. And we both work from home together in the same room all day, even though we do different jobs, but we're together all the time and we have our kids and we have the things that we enjoy doing together. It's also so important to have who I am and the things that I am that are my own thing. And I think the same thing for him. And I don't think Gino wants her to have anything beyond him. And the second that the only thing he can pull away, like he's taken away her independence, he's taking away her affection, he's taking away the things that she needs. She can't move about the world without him very well. Yeah. And even Reba says that. Reba says the only thing he has for her, against her, with her is sex. And so he just uses that.
He dangles it like a thread, and he uses that against her like a weapon. And we said this last week, and it's disgusting and it's gross. But I just got to thinking, I've watched this episode 3 times this week, and usually I don't watch it that much. I watch it twice, but I watched it 3 times this week because I really want to understand why the two of them act the way that they do towards each other. And I get love. I get wanting to be with your partner. I get wanting to be in this relationship. But the two of them are next level neurotic. That's why I feel like she cheated on Gino. Now he's so broken about it, and she's trying to make up for, hey, I'm sorry, I won't do that. I love you. She's trying to prove I love you. 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 It's okay. It's okay. And he's completely broken. And again, I'm not a fan of Gino. I'm not trying to make excuses for any of that, but that's in my head. That makes sense to me. Why she's acting so aggressively at him. I want you so much, and why he's aggressively pulling back so much because something like that has happened. That's really the only thing I can come up with because, like I said before, they were so great in Panama on their other seasons. They had this lovely, weird sex life. And then she comes to Michigan, and obviously she hates it and has this horrible reality check. And then this happens. Something had to happen in the meantime.
I think that's a solid theory, but I don't think Gino wants to fix anything. I think that he starts to re-engage with her and accept her bids. You see it happen with the sex therapy, and then he catches himself and stops himself. He starts and then he stops.
Yeah.
And it looks so intentional
Yeah.
when he starts pulling away. It becomes this very intentional pushing away versus when he's not really thinking about it and he starts, they just really enjoy each other.
Yes, that's what I mean.
I wonder if he's going to be able to move on. And I mean, that's something that only Gino can answer. Are you going to be able to try to heal from this and accept her transgression? And she's clearly trying to make up for it, even though she's not publicly admitting it, if that's what it is. Or are you never going to be able to move forward and you just want to punish her forever? Because I think that exists too. You don't leave. You just want to punish them. Like, I love you, but I need to see you hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's what it is, which is gross and doesn't work, and everyone's going to be sad and horrible. So I don't know if I want them to stay together. But also, I loved seeing Gino's hat fall off more. Why doesn't he just... Here's the other thing. He can't let go. Just shave the back of your head, Gino. Just shave it off. You don't need that patch back there. Just get rid of it.
Maybe he can't reach it. He can't reach it. I don't know. She sure as shit's not going to do it for him. I mean...
Really? I think that she would.
I don't know.
I think if he asked, I think she'd be there in 2 seconds.
Maybe.
In a teeny bikini, shaving cream, and the razor, I think she'd be right there.
I don't know. But, she'd probably ask for a kiss in return, and he wouldn't do it.
No. Well, she might go a little crazy and, shave his back.
Maybe. That's
She's
probably
like,
true.
I'm here.
Yep. Okay, so what are we left? Josh and Natalie, crazy and crazier? Gosh, I have so many thoughts with them. Oh.
Josh and Natalie were the star of this episode, in my opinion. As explosive as watching Gino refuse to give any affection and completely break down Jasmine was, I think Josh and Natalie was insanity. So we know that Josh missed out on the sex therapy. So for some reason, they have makeup sex therapy, just them with the sex therapist in the hotel room. I'm of 2 minds on this. Josh, not into it. He does not want to participate. You see Natalie, she literally yells at him, Josh, come on! Because she really, really, really wants to do the sex therapy. And he's not into it, and he's uncomfortable. Because there's this woman that he doesn't know very well, the therapist, who's walking them through this intimacy exercise. Natalie's like, take off your shirt. And he's like, I don't want to take off my shirt. I understand that it sucks that he doesn't want to just go through it and show that he's putting in the effort and try. He should be participating. The other side of it is, I don't know that I'd want to do that in front of her either.
Can you imagine if they were laying in bed and doing the Rob and Sophie bondage one? He would lose his mind.
I don't want anyone watching me. And I'm not anti-PDA. I love a public cuddle. I love a public kiss. But I'm not going to do public paintbrush touch. I don't want anyone to see me put syrup on Matt.
Yeah, that was... I have so many thoughts. You're on a strict diet, and so you can't have sugar on your skin. Shut the fuck up. I can't.
She doesn't like sticky things.
No. So he will do it for her, and she really enjoys it, but then he wants to just wipe it off. He's not going to lick it off. And that's what he does. He pretends to lick it off, but he wipes it with the rag, and she is disappointed. And then, like you said, it's his turn. He doesn't want to do it, but he does. She leaves.
They have to kick the therapist out of the room.
Yep.
And she's just standing outside the room.
Yep.
And the therapist is like, yeah, I can see. We didn't get to really build a rapport, so I can see how this would feel awkward, which is, I think, generous. But in general, he says, like, he doesn't really think that they need to do this because their sex life is so good. I think the interesting thing about that is it's not really about your sex. I know it's sex therapy, but it's really about the intimacy. It's letting each other be up close and personal and not just going straight into having sex. There's other parts of this. And he's like, no, I'm really great at it. It's like, well, there's more to this than just giving it nicely.
Right. How gross are you that you can say, I'm really great at this. Like, I don't need help. We're really great at sex. We have a lot of sex and we're really good at that. We don't need help in that area. And the sex therapist is just like, red flag, ding, ding, ding. We're all thinking that, watching this at home.
Right.
Yuck. That's just gross. Other thing that I made notes of that I found a very big ick is every time someone said something he didn't like, Natalie or the sex therapist, where she said it's not just about sex, it's about intimacy and being vulnerable or whatever. Or Natalie was like, oh, can we please do that? I really want to do that. He would put his hand on her knee, or he would put his hand on her arm. He would touch her and hold her.
Notice.
I don't like that. He's holding her down, and I don't like it when men do that. That is a control thing to me. That is the same thing to me as when a man grabs their partner by the neck with their hand or puts their arm around their partner or their woman's neck. You know what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah.
That is a no-no. And that's a big red flag when you see that. You're walking down the street, you're in the store, you're on a walk on the Greenbelt or wherever you're at, and you're thinking, oh, that girl is in trouble. That is not a good relationship. And that is what I was watching, because then he would take his hand away when whatever they would start the exercise or whatever was going on, but then he didn't like what was going on. He would put his hand back.
I think it goes back to what we've said before. I find him so manipulative.
Yeah.
I also found it really irritating that when Natalie is like, come on, Josh, let's do this. And he would be like, see, look at her getting crazy. And you're like, hello, there's 3 people in the room. You don't do that. Don't try and triangulate. Gross. When they do it and they bring the therapist back in and they're talking about it and he goes, our sex life is so great and that's all good. I'd say the only thing that I really have an issue with is we will have amazing sex and then the next day she expects something. And it was like, wow, she wants to spend time. She wants me to spend the night. She wants to go get breakfast. And he's like, I've got stuff to do. I've got meetings to go to. I have kids. And she's like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. It kind of felt like what they were saying is, he's like, I want the relationship to be just what it is and exactly how I need it to be and on my schedule because I'm a busy businessman. She's like, I gave it to you last night so fucking good. Buy me pancakes and let's go grocery shopping. Let me go to your house. He's like, I'm busy. I have kids. And she's like, let me be included in that. And he's like, I don't feel comfortable having you around my kids. She's like, but you knew that when we got together, having a family is very important to me. And he then says to her, I never agreed to have a family with you. And you just see her. It looked like someone punched her in the gut and the wind got knocked out of her. It was rough. When he said that, It was so clear, oh, this is never going to go anywhere. He wants you to fit in the box that he has built for you, and you are not allowed to go outside of that. And you keep trying to go outside of that, and then that just gives him an excuse to push you back in harder.
Yeah. I thought he's disgusting, and I felt really bad for her. I was completely on her side. She was almost kind of demure and low key and kind, where she said, I don't understand the problem. Why can't I help you? Why can't I be there for you? If you have to take your child somewhere, why can't I do that? Why can't I be there? And he went from 0 to 1,000 and says, because you do that. Because you do that. I need her to be normal. And I wrote down, yeah, you need to fix this.
Until you fix this.
Josh and Gino are the same person. They create these issues to make these women look crazy, so then they in turn look like a victim. And it's disgusting. I know Natalie has emotions the size of the earth, and I get that.
They've picked these women with a predisposition,
yes,
to fly off the handle.
And I'm not saying that she needs to regulate her emotions. She totally does. And I think Jasmine's trying to get that. She's doing really well at trying to do that. But Gino and Josh, they do these things on purpose. They create these issues that are non-existent, and then they put it out for the public, or they show it to people like Rob. And they're like, look at this, smoke and mirrors. And they're like, look how crazy she is. Look at this. And it's all lies. And then, of course, she blows up. Of course, she gets upset.
She's like, you might as well just take a knife and kill me.
Yep.
It was so, I'm not going to move forward with you. It was so final.
Yep.
And she's like, why the hell am I here?
Yep.
I've broken up with you. And then you come to me and say, let's work on this. I'm not trying to work on it.
Yep.
I say we're done. And then you come back and you say that you're going to fix it. She really genuinely wants him. She wants that family with him, that life that she envisions with him. He's giving her just the tiniest little taste of it and then dragging her along. It's gross and it's sad. And I really turned on the sex therapist in this episode. I thought that she made some great points last time. But then when Natalie starts to say, are you serious? We know Natalie's going to unravel. And he's just sitting there pushing the swing, waiting for her to go flying off by saying shitty things to her. And the therapist is like, you need to let him be heard. He's saying shit to piss her off. I don't know why we're pretending like he's the victim here. He's the one that's sitting there poking, trying to get her to react. And I was really bothered with that. Natalie is like, what the fuck are these two saying? And I in that moment was on her side. She's like, I think we're done. I think we need the other therapist. You're a sex therapist, right? I need a real family relationship therapist. We're done, right? Okay. And she just starts packing up all of the stuff that the sex therapist brought in. And she's like, oh, you can keep those. And she goes, no, he doesn't like it. Goodbye.
Yep.
She's like, take the fruit. Goodbye. Get out. The therapist had said, oh, I've never been kicked out of a session before. That's a first for me. But I don't know that I would have reacted that much differently than she did in that scenario.
Exactly.
I think that her reaction was valid for getting told, I didn't say I ever wanted to have a family with you. Why did I invest 3 years of this if that's not somewhere we could eventually head? God, Josh sucks so hard.
Yep. All she wanted to do, she's like, just what am I? Am I your girlfriend? What the hell is this relationship? And the sex therapist said, okay, why are you here? But then he said, you need to control whatever this is. And then she's like, he's being vulnerable and she's going off the rails. And I was like, yeah, no. It was so unnerving to watch the two of them kind of gang up on her. And that's why it was just disgusting how he treats her. And then and then the clip for next week, they're all in that honeymoon suite having a party. And they're telling Natalie that Josh thinks she's crazy. And she's upset because he's gone. And she's like, I don't know where he is. He's not answering my call. He does this shit to her.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. He makes her crazy. And so she acts crazy. It's not okay.
I was so disappointed when I saw the little sneak peek because I was like, don't chase after him.
Yep.
She's like, I don't know where he is. Who gives a shit where he is?
Bye.
If he's at his house, you can't go. It was sad. So insane sometimes. Oh my God. I felt for her this time. Even though she was her typical self, you just watch him just like she's a puppet. He knows exactly the buttons to push to create the freak out. What did we miss? What did they not show us that would make that make sense of the therapist? Where was Josh being vulnerable? He didn't want to do the exercise. And he was like, I'm great at sex, but sometimes she wants to get breakfast with me after.
Right. Are you serious? Okay. Then every woman is crazy if we want to have breakfast after sex. Fuck off, right? I mean, come on. Yeah, that's terrible. I just felt so bad for her. She just wants someone to take care of her. And I think in return, she would probably do the same thing. She would take care of that person and that person's family in return. I think she's almost that simple, really.
Yeah, I think if it's transactional, maybe that's what it is. Yeah. If in the right circumstances, I feel like it's very simple. She'll lay out what she wants, and then you give her those things.
Rob and Sophie.
Oh,
God. Somebody's dramatic. I shaved off my ponytail. Now I'm dramatic.
I love that he shaved off his ponytail. And everyone talked about how he doesn't have the ponytail anymore and how much better it is. Mm-hmm. I feel like they didn't get the closure to the conversation at kayaking. And because that was so poorly handled by the therapists, sorry, James, I think you could have done a better job. It rolls over when they go to the restaurant and he's just talking shit about Sophie the whole time.
Well, it rolls over into the van. Did you watch his body language in the van on the way to the restaurant? He's just scrunched over. He's on his phone. He's leaning away from her. He wants nothing to do with her. He's not talking to her, which is not typical for them. Usually they're at least engaging with each other. And I think she was trying to at least try to talk to him because she's talking about how Natalie was a bully and he is not even looking at her. I noticed that. I thought, what is that? But then they show that in the between the sheets with him talking shit and she hears and that whole fight, which makes total sense because I didn't know what was going on.
Right. No, it's very frustrating. Again, thank God for us watching this so that our audience doesn't have to, because it's really annoying to get a little bit of it and then we don't understand what happened until we watch the between the sheets. I'm an adult. I have a bedtime. I gotta figure it all out. I think that he was just being such sulky, whiny bitch. I think he just wanted to feel like everyone was on his side for some reason. So he's talking shit about her at the restaurant. Yeah. And then they get in the van to go home. And apparently they're still 60 miles away from the resort. Why are they making this show so difficult? The amount of money they spend on these Sprinter vans alone is frustrating. They could have afforded better therapists. Anyway. So she kind of calls him out. She's like, you were saying all of this, like, where did that come from? I don't know why you have to do this. If you have a problem, why aren't you talking to me? And he flies off the handle. He cannot handle getting called out like that. He cannot handle that she's trying to talk it out and saying, that wasn't great. I think he was in the wrong. Even if he has a problem with her, he handled it in such an immature way. They are not in high school. He is in his 30s. He is married to her. He knows better. What the fuck were you doing, Rob? I don't even totally understand the shit he was talking. It didn't even have a through line. Yeah. Do you remember?
No, I agree. He I think he was just spewing, she doesn't appreciate me. I don't know what's going on. I do everything. I do this. I do that. And all she does is she talks down to me and says, I don't do enough. I don't do enough. Okay. All right. Like, what's happening? I don't know what's going on. And obviously she can hear you.
Yeah. He wanted to talk shit and then he wanted everyone to go, Rob, it is hard for you. Yeah. It's so hard for you. Yeah. She's so mean. And he likes it when Natalie's like, because she's lazy.
Oh, yeah.
I am not Team Rob this time.
Yeah, he was being a giant boob with a big old nipple. Stop it.
Have we figured out large nipples versus, like, good nipples versus bad nipples? Rob is a bad nipple.
He was a bad nipple this time. Yep.
But he throws such a temper tantrum that he's screaming at her, and she's like, you need to get out.
Yep.
Because he escalates so much. He gets out of the van, and it's raining. The melodrama. He starts walking down the road, and he's like, I had my leftovers in the styrofoam boxes that he's carrying by himself in the rain, and he's running away. Poor production had to run after him. He said that he walked a mile. There's no way he walked a mile.
No.
But he walked 10 yards. But they get him back in, and he's literally just pouting the entire car ride home. I hope they don't stay together. Who wants to deal with that? Why does he want to be with someone that he feels that way about?
And how does this just, all of a sudden, it just comes up from nowhere? It's like Mount Vesuvius. We're not quite sure when it's going to erupt. We're not quite sure what he's talking about. I think she gets confused. What the fuck is going on? And then I think she genuinely is asking, tell me what's happening. And he can't articulate it intelligently. And she just gets done. And he doesn't like being shut down. And I don't understand.
No.
What's happening?
I really, really want the show to solve some problems. You get a little nugget of, did we just fix their marriage? Julia and Brandon have been just a shit show this whole time, but she just came out with something and he was good. Maybe we'll fix it. But in general, the show is doing nothing but entertaining me, giving us something good to talk about. No one should be together if they can't get this sorted out, other than Julia and Brandon. What a roller coaster this show is.
I mean, I don't even know.
I think last episode we talked about Florian and Stacy. They did nothing this episode. I don't have any notes for them.
I don't have any notes either. They really didn't do anything.
No. Florian's having a good time with Gino. Stacy's just enjoying the time with the women. Yeah. It sounds like we're going to get to dig in with them a little bit next episode, which I'm looking forward to because I really like Stacy now. I didn't think that I did, but I'm really starting to enjoy her. I want to see more from them. They're the only ones I have any real hope for at this point, is Stacy and Florian.
But I don't know what this sand therapy thing is they're going to do next week, but it looks kind of funny. Florian is hilarious. I don't really play with myself, so I have no imagination. I don't know what he's talking about. He's so funny. Oh, God. And she's so dramatic. Yeah, I just have a twin sister. I don't know what to do with her. She kills me. I love Stacy. Oh, my God.
They are fun to watch.
Although Stacy's swimsuit this episode was so pretty, that white, that I don't even know. It wasn't lace. Oh.
It was like cutouts and pieces of things. She looked so cute. And then pretty. She also had the same fabric that made up her swimsuit was also on her hat. Doesn't she make clothes?
Yeah.
I think she probably designed that. That was fun.
So pretty.
Remind
me of like
how she brings it.
Tile or backsplash you would have in like your house or something. The design was so pretty.
Yeah, she looked great. She looked almost as good as Jasmine did.
Oh my God, Jasmine in that bikini. Holy smokes. Yeah. So good. We're going to end on that note, Jasmine being hot. I'd swing that way for her, let me tell ya.
Everybody just wants to touch the fake butt.
Woo! You betcha. Get it.
All right. Well, see you guys next week.
Yes.
We are ever closer to the valley. We are so close.
What did you decide to name the cat?
So this is Joey. I didn't name him.
Okay.
But he only has one good eye. The other one is all cloudy.
Oh.
So kind of fits. He's Cotton Eye Joe.
There you go.
And then the other one, I think she should be called Tink. And that was actually Matt's coworker was like, because she shit while he was in a meeting in the office and it stunk up the office really bad. And he had to call me to come get her. So she's teeny tiny. She's like a little fairy. She's like a little Tinkerbell.
Okay.
/ also she has the smelliest shits.
Tink with a big stink. Okay.
Yeah. Stinky Tinky.
Yay. All right, everybody.
All right. Well,
we'll see you next week.
Next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.